And I'm going to screw this up, but Justinas, welcome to the Bikepack Adventures Podcast. Hey, I got it right.
You did it, man. This was very correct, yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so you are Lithuanian and have been living in Norway for quite some time, yeah?
10 years this year.
What brought you to Norway?
Work. I'm a
Okay.
nurse.
Are you? Is that what you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess Norway as a nurse, the money's probably really, really great because Norway's
Yeah,
expensive.
and that wasn't the main reason I chose to come here to do this. It was more like I looked for in Lithuania when I studied, so I was the only male in between all the other females.
What a
I mean,
what a
it's
great what a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't complain, but at that time it felt really that I wanted something that would be more equal.
Yeah.
And when I was learning the art of nurse, so we would study from Norwegian books, and there it would say that Norwegians and they have 50-50 like equal rights, and there's as many male nurses as there are females.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
yeah, I mean that's the theory. It doesn't actually
Okay.
show in practice, or not exactly. I mean the numbers of male nurses are way bigger than used to be in Lithuania. Now
Yeah.
actually I can't talk much about Lithuanian healthcare system because I haven't been working there for quite some years. But in general, yeah, it was a change when I came here and I met male nurses too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a elementary school teacher, so
Yeah,
I know how you feel, man. There are
look at that.
I think
Nice.
our school has a lot of guys, and I think we
Okay.
have 5 out of 40 teachers are men. So it's
Right.
it's
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 more
kind of the
that
same thing.
like you're not alone. At least and that's I think it's very. I
Yeah.
think that helps a lot.
Yeah, and we have a good little crew of guys there too, so it's nice. You have people you can actually you can joke with and
Hmm.
let down your, be more. Just
Yeah,
be
yeah,
careful without having to be so careful about what saying the wrong thing sometimes.
exactly. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know very well what you what you mean.
Yeah. So what's your story like? You grew up in Lithuania. You started biking presumably like everybody else, and then what happened from there? Like when did you?
Oh, that's I can tell you. Like, depends how much time do you have
Oh,
today.
I got all night, man. The baby's napping, and
Because there are the long version, the short version, but now like to keep it, try to keep it nice and simple is like yeah. So I've got my first bike at the age of 4 or 5, I think, but that was a bit fancy one, because Lithuania we just got out of. I've been born in Soviet Union still.
hmm
So when I was 4, it was like maybe 2 years that we had our independence back, and so my parents somehow got like because to travel in Europe wasn't a thing, like all like yeah, the walls just opened for
yeah,
Lithuanians to get
yeah.
out. So they got on a bus to visit a monastery in France, and on the way back they somehow managed to get the bike in France, like little kid's bike, and the bus driver said okay to bring it in. So yeah, that was the story, and I got that bike. So
That's
that
cool.
is my first. I have this picture with that bike. It's a very I remember that moment. So it's one of the first childhood memories that I have that they bringing that bike. But that's about it. Like the cycling, I mean, I got a bike, learned to ride it, rode all over, and then what? Like yeah, the childhood. I started playing football. I was an active kid, so I
Yeah.
did all sorts of sports. Like I there's there's just a few that I haven't tried. I've been swimming. I've been playing handball. I've been doing the athletics. Jumping, running, but always there was this soccer or football that we used to play. We used to play in our the block houses, so we would
Yep.
have the pitch, and that's where we all gather in the evenings after we all did all these other things and homeworks and stuff, and then we would play until the sun would go down. So kind of soccer always was the thing that I wanted to pursue, or felt that I was not bad at it.
And,
And sorry.
no, I was gonna say, were you from Vilnius or from somewhere
Nah,
else? No.
yeah. So I grew up in Šiauliai.
Okay.
That's like the fourth biggest town
Okay.
city in Lithuania. I studied in Vilnius. That's where I kind of. That's the last place I lived in Lithuania when I left it.
It's a really nice city, actually. I
You've
was,
been there?
yeah, I was there in 2000 and was it 15 or early 16? I think it was
Okay,
early 2016. Yeah.
nice. So
I was
you
teaching I was teaching in southern Sweden for a year. So when I had a holiday, I went to like I think I flew into Vilnius and I flew out
mm,
of Riga. So I kind
yeah,
of like
okay.
spent
Yeah,
10
you did
days
the
and
right thing.
did the two cities for. I didn't go to Estonia that trip. I had went previously, maybe 10 years earlier, but
Okay.
yeah.
No, you did the very right thing because those, I mean, Riga and Vilnius, they're not too far from each other,
Hmm.
and probably if you didn't do that by car, because Šiauliai is the kind of nearest big town to the Latvian border,
Okay.
and so that's yeah, and you probably have crossed it,
Yeah,
maybe.
it was before I knew what bikepacking was, so it was definitely a bus or a train or something
Yeah,
like a gypsy cab. I don't remember
yeah,
how I did it. I think it was a
yeah,
bus, but yeah.
yeah. But Vilnius is beautiful. I've been back home now in September because my grandma was telling that you've been to US this year more than you've been to Lithuania, so it's about time to come back. And I had to pay her a visit. So yeah, I went back and visited, and yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the childhood in Chile, then I got into university. So I yeah from like I've been 14, yeah, so I the soccer kind of took it over and I played it in more or less high level.
Okay.
And when I got to university, so I played for the uni team, then I played for Lithuanian medical national team, and
Oh wow, cool.
been traveling a bit, and I even played some tournaments in Brazil, in Long Beach, and yeah, places in Europe. So just recently that bike has brought me more places than football used to
Mm.
do. Um, but the great the biggest change happened actually when I moved to Norway, because then football is a is a team sport. So I would need a team to play together with and train together with, and because I was starting to work as a nurse and that was my kind of main focus, so I would pick all the shifts I could. So I would work days, nights, weekends, holidays, and that doesn't go well with the training, like with the team. When the bike, it's there and it can take you further and faster than running. And Norway is a country that has some views to offer
Hmm.
when you're on a bike. So that was kind of clear. And I think in 2017, when I had my first winter where I was training on a bike, not would only use it for commuting, but also
Hmm.
would train on it. And that's kind of where it all started.
Okay. And did you do any like? Did you do a lot of like road biking and racing at all, or?
hmm So I was a road cyclist to begin
Yeah.
with. Then I came, like in 2014, I came to Norway, and the first year I lived in Bergen, the second year I lived in Oslo, and then I got to this smaller town called Tinset, which is like 20 kilometers from where I live now. And
Okay.
there was a professional mountain bike team.
Mm.
So I raised myself a goal to try to become a member of that team. So I would need to do silly things to get their attention. Like I was riding on my road bike up the gravel climbs to steal their KOMs on Strava and shit, just to get them to notice me. And yeah, later they would invite me to ride together. And in 2019, I made to the team.
Okay.
So that was 1 year when I have this cycling license, where it says that I'm a elite rider.
Oh, nice. Okay. I don't know why in my mind I was like I feel like you must be a pro rider or have been a pro rider at some point, but I mean other than that 1 year, not really, huh?
Yeah. No, and even that year, I would still work 100%. Like I would still have a full-time job aside. So cycling still was just a hobby. Like I'm a hobby cyclist, but that takes the hobby probably a bit too seriously.
Yeah. You're
So,
a
but
professional hobby cyclist.
yeah, yeah. But then you know that 2020 came in the COVID, and that actually when the team decided to fold up, because they have been running the team for 8 years or more, and I was just a freshman, you know, like that was my first year, so
Hmm.
I was looking for different adventures, and there was this possibility, like I and because of a COVID, you know, the different COVID shifts and stuff, we would work, yeah, long hours, and then would have quite a lot of free days in a row.
Mm.
I would just look where the weather was good and would pack my bike, and that would, like, bike packing was the perfect stuff to do at that time, because you could pack the food for days, right? uh,
Yeah.
you don't need to sleep at someone's houses, so you don't interact with anyone. Norway was free of tourists, so all these beautiful places were not crowded, and you could just go there and enjoy them, or have them all them for yourself. And so one week I did like 1,000 kilometers in 5 days. The next time I had the free period, I would do the same thousand, like different route, but about 1,000 kilometers in 4 days. And that got me to like, okay,
Maybe I could
where
do
are,
three.
yeah, where are the limits? Like, how far can I ride in 24 hours?
Yeah.
And I looked at the route, and they made a route which was 700 kilometers. It would go like all the way like to the Arctic Circle,
Okay.
to a place called Buda. And I would start from, so I did it like, I worked Friday, my last work at the previous work I had, and got in my car, drove to Trondheim, because there's the airport.
Yeah.
Started the ride at midnight from Friday to Saturday, rode all the way, did all those 700 kilometers, and climbed almost the height of Everest
Hmm.
doing those. Finished in the Arctic Circle, and because it was in June, so there was midnight sun, so the
Yeah.
sun
Exactly.
was shining. So it was an amazing like experience. I finished there. Then I, yeah, took a ferry to Lofoten Islands, which are like quite famous here in Norway. They're spectacular. Had my recovery ride there, so I would just ride a bit between those beaches, and had to take plane back
Ah. Okay.
because
How far do you live away from Trondheim?
it's like 150, 60 kilometers away.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Not
Yeah,
too
yeah.
bad.
So I'm in the middle between Oslo and Trondheim, so
Mm.
it's a bit closer to the Swedish border, so it's like inland.
Okay.
But yeah, so finished the ride, took the flight back. Monday went back to work, so it was a weekend trip
Damn. 700K in like
in
24
24
hours.
hours. Yeah, that was
Yeah. You can
that
push
was
the
that
limits for sure.
Yeah, but that's where like, and then I had a friend who lives in Spain, and he noticed that ride on Strava, and he's like, "Dude, you have to," because at that point I didn't know the ultra world existed. Like,
Yeah.
I never heard about those races. I Yeah, probably it has been a bit of a underground, or like the circle of people doing those races was really small. I mean, now
I
it's
think it's
growing,
just
but
now growing like crazy. Yeah.
yeah,
But
exactly. So at that time, so the friend got in touch with me, and he said like, there is this race, Trans Pyrenees, which starts like at the Mediterranean
mhm.
and finishes in the Atlantic. You crossing the Pyrenees, and that sounded amazing. It was like,
I was registered for that
yeah,
for 2020 and it was canceled because of
yes,
COVID.
yes, yes.
And
So yeah,
so I did a big tour type thing out west. I mean, I was not at that level, obviously. I was just wanted to go and challenge myself, and so I did same thing. I did a Canada bikepacking adventure because there was no traffic on the roads. There was
mm.
no Americans coming through with their big RVs to go to Alaska. Like it was just quiet, you know, like it was perfect.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think I heard about the thing you did, like, but this like and Canada adventure cycling. isn't that very, very long one? Because it crosses like it's about 6,000 miles, no?
I didn't do the what do they call it? I didn't do the race across Canada. I just did
Oh, yeah, this
my own thing. I cycled from like Vancouver to Whitehorse and then to
all right.
Winnipeg. So it was about
All right.
5,500 kilometers.
Okay.
And
That's that's
I did,
plenty.
yeah, I did that in about 24 days of riding and like 29 days because I stopped a couple days here and there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you did the right thing, man. This is how touring and bikepacking should be done, actually.
Yeah. I think they can mesh pretty well.
Yeah. No, but so in 2021, that was my first ultra race
Mm,
when I came to do the Trans-Pyrenees.
nice. And did you win it?
No, I came
Okay.
fourth.
All right. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
find statistics on that.
No, no, no. So this was a good thing. Like, oh no, now when I look back to it, so it's a good thing. The winner of that race was Ulrich. You know, my
Yeah.
good old friend. So the first four races I would do, he would participate in the same races and he would win them all, and I would come somewhere like. So my first race I came fourth. That was Transpyrenees, and there was Trans-Iberica. I finished third. Uba won it. Then we both did Badlands, but neither of us won. But he came ahead of me. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he came second or
So you're
third.
always here chasing. You were hunting for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I was always on his wheel, the heels. So I would learn, like I would ride and learn, and I couldn't believe how fast that man was, like, and how strong he was. So he's been an example for me all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like to some degree it's Europe and North America, we're two very, very far apart areas of the world. And, you kind of hear about racers in North America, and then occasionally you hear about somebody from Europe who's destroying races like Ube, right? And then he came and did the Tour Divide, and then you were probably right on that fringe where people were starting to talk about this other guy who's racing really well, and then all of a sudden here you are, and now everybody knows the name, right? It's all
Well, I don't know. I don't know like how many knows the name, and I don't. Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm really lucky and happy, and how this year turned out, but I just really enjoyed what I've done.
Yeah, so let's jump forward to this year. I know you've had quite a few good races. You've had quite a few big races, I meant to say. And you are using a Trek Super Caliber, right? That's kind of the new arrow in the quiver.
Hmm.
Tell us about it. Like, why full suspension? How does it work? How does it help you? And
It's like I would say one simple thing, which is comfort is speed.
mhm.
So how do you achieve comfort? What's comfort for you? How because I would like the more of those races I would do, the more I would understand how much are they wearing you out. And at the beginning, like I would really struggle to come back to life after I would do those races. Like I would really smash my body like hard. Like
Yeah.
it, I couldn't imagine sitting on the bike the next day after I would do the long race. Even that would be like 2 or 3 day race.
Mm.
Like not talking about something like Tour Divide, but like this year I finished Tour Divide and I could ride the next day. There was
Okay.
no problem at all. Like
I think, yeah, because when normally, like in my experience, like your lower back takes a beating, right? Like you don't
mm,
realize how much your back is supporting
mm,
your back and your core, and
mm,
if your core is starting to get tired, your back's taking up a lot of pressure, and by the end of the race, like you're out, your days like recovery and
exactly. You do so much damage that it takes really long time. But in this case, I mean, when I started playing with this full suspension setup, like because the year before I did Tour Divide on a hardtail, but I put the drop bars, so it was the Pro Caliber with the drop bars, and
mm,
I used the RockShox Sid fork, which actually stopped working halfway because it's not meant to be ridden those long distances
yeah,
without servicing. And I mean, we had a muddy race, so there was lots of stuff. So So I was really thinking whether or should I or and so but for 24 for this year I decided to do the Atlas Mountain Race, and I did it on a Super Caliber 2, and I ended up winning it and kind of confirming my theory right. But Atlas race is a bit different. It's like a race in Morocco. It's
Hmm.
1,300 kilometers long about, and you're crossing the Atlas Mountain. So it's like it's similar in a way to Tour de Divide, because you do a lot of climbing, and you're not so much on a single track. It's mostly double tracks. I
It's
mean,
more
the
like
road,
double track and gravel,
yeah,
right?
yeah, but the double track are rough. Like the Moroccan. There's not so many cars in Morocco, so the double track is a bit wild
Mm.
there. So, but it really stood the test, like the bike and the setup I had on it. And then but my last confirmation for the setup was the race in Lausanne in Switzerland. There was a challenge set up by my friends, which is called Le Mans Gravel Challenge,
Okay.
and it's around the Lake Genève. So it's a loop. They meant that when they built that race, it was meant to do on a gravel bike. So I was probably one of few who were on a mountain bike, and
Hmm.
maybe the only one on a full suspension bike. But I won that race by like 14 minutes against the guy who was on a super light gravel bike. And he's a strong guy. He's a local, like, yeah, I think he used to be a pro. So that guy can ride his bike. It was just like I would preserve my body more, and towards the end, I could gain those few minutes of
Mm.
advantage, and then I would just be able to keep it. So that kind of made my choice for the Tour Divide, that I knew that the bike can actually, I can be as fast on a mountain full suspension bike as the gravel racers. And so when I stood at the start and at Banff, and Lorenz Tandem, he showed up also on a full suspension bike. So I kind of knew that, okay, he also knows a thing or two about this, and he did his research. So
Mm.
so we were kind of equal when it came to that, but yeah, so that's how I made the decision for the
Oh,
full
okay.
suspension bike. Yeah, just proving myself that the comfort is actually speed.
Yeah. In 2021, I was doing a bikepacking race here in Ontario, in Canada,
Mm.
and the guy who won it, no, sorry, 2022, and the guy who won it was on a full suspension, and I was like, really?
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, yeah, you just don't get as tired. It's one less
Mm-hmm.
thing to worry about, and for the weight penalty of half a kilo or less, like
Yeah, but you pack your bike, right? So you still have a lot of stuff on the bike, so you
exactly.
can you can equal it out with taking less, maybe. I mean, I don't advise any people to take less stuff, but it's just like a
It
thing.
depends on how long it is, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and how many times have you done something like that? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and how uncomfortable and for how long can you be?
Hmm. And yeah, that's a good point. And I feel like I think people are gonna, same way that people have started gravitating back to racks on their bikes, or like you're
Mm,
using the tail fin. I
definitely.
also use tail fin, and
Mm.
the same way people are using the racks and stuff. I think people are starting to realize like, oh, there's a place for full suspension, and maybe we're gonna start seeing more of them over the next few years.
Mm. I mean, the next races I did, right, like the Colorado and Arizona Trail, I was looking at when bikepacking.com posts those rigs of,
Oh yeah.
and I would look at those rigid bikes or like hardtails. And after doing those races, I mean, you wouldn't, even if you would pay, I probably wouldn't do that on a rigid or like a hardtail. Oh my God. But I understand also that not everybody, I mean, the first and foremost thing about those races is to do them, to challenge
Yeah.
yourself, to finish them, and nobody says what bike you have to do it on.
Yeah.
Like, right. So if you have a hardtail, do it on the hardtail. It's just like That's another thing which I said after finishing Tour Divide, that the pain is not mandatory, you know, in ultras. I mean, you don't have to suffer.
Hmm.
It's yeah, it's chosen by some people, I think.
Yeah, I think if you choose to push yourself to the front and to try to win it, that equals a certain amount of pain, right?
It
And
does.
if
It
you don't
does.
want the
Yeah.
pain, you can ride less big days and just enjoy the adventure, right?
You can definitely.
It's like you choose your own adventure, choose your own pain level.
Exactly. No, no, but yeah. I I'm a big advocate for the full suspension bikes in those
Mm,
ultra races, just because they they help you to stay faster towards the end of the race.
yeah, makes sense. And tires wise, I think you're using Continental Race Kings. Is that still the go-to? And there was a period of time where everybody was riding mezcals, and I was like, why Race Kings? And
I
how do you
think
find them
there's
different?
I think there is still like 90% of the bikes you would see in Tour Divide, they would still have mezcals on them. And that was the tires that I did in did the race in 2023.
Okay.
Hmm. And there was nothing wrong with them, but I would I was just looking for those marginal gains. You know, I love to twinker and play with the things I have. So I already had Race Kings in Atlas, and they did good. And then I had them in Switzerland, where they also did good. So I
Mm,
was pretty confident that they're gonna not let me down. So
okay.
they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have a Race King on the back of my mountain bike packing bike
Mm,
because I was riding and it was really worn out, and the mezcal I had on there, and I was getting to like finally into a town, and I kept having this slow leak that wouldn't go away, and I went into a bike shop and I was like, what do you have?
mm,
And they had the Race King, so I threw one on, and that solved
yeah.
all my problems. But that's pretty much because I probably rode 6 or 7 thousand kilometers on the other tire without changing it, and
Yeah.
so
Then you got the life out of it, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, self-imposed problem solving. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, but that's right. I mean, I did the yeah. I liked how they roll on all these different surfaces, and I
Hmm.
actually finished without puncturing it at all.
Oh yeah.
So lucky.
Let me ask you about your tail fin bags.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little bit different than the publicly available bags. I mean, they're custom made. How are they? Like, how do they? Are they part of the prototype designs, or is this something they just made custom to fit your bike in that kind of situation?
So I'm first of all I'm very lucky to be on their research and development team. So I kind of contribute by putting those bikes through a test, long
Right.
tests, and I can't come with a longer and better test than Tour Divide. So yeah, I would come with ideas, and the guys are amazing. They for supporting me as good as I can imagine. So they would listen to my needs, come with ideas, and we would do something. Yeah. So this long top tube bag, which I would call a baguette bag, because
Hmm.
it would you could easily fit like two baguettes in it. So it's like it's a huge bag on the top tube, and the Super Caliber actually is amazing bike for bike packing, because it has the 100 millimeter travel, or 110 actually on this generation two at the front and 80 at the back, and because the rear suspension is tucked or built into the top tube,
Hmm.
so it still gives you or allows you to use the full frame, like in a frame
Yeah, there's a
triangle.
very little space lost, right? By the looks of things, when I
Not
looked at a
that
picture.
much, or like, so now in comparison to the bike that I used, like I used the Top Fuel in both Colorado and Arizona, and there the triangle was way smaller. So
Mm.
the frame pack I had on Top Fuel is I don't know how many liters smaller than the one I had on a Super Caliber. And I would also use the tail fin rack, but that's also, I mean, I can't give you any dates, but I think the next generation, when they're gonna do the improvement on the now existing rack, which is available to public, they might do some changes, which have been tested not
Okay.
only by me, but the features that are really worth implementing
Mm.
into the products.
Yeah, nice. I've been using the rack, for most of a better part of this year. Anyway, since
Mm.
maybe since
It's
Christmas last year, and
it,
yeah, I love it. Like I got the alloy one.
mm,
I had
but
the
it's
option. Maybe I should have said yes to the carbon, but I didn't. And
I
but
think it
it's great.
didn't.
It's great.
You haven't missed anything. Like
Hmm.
the carbon is very fancy. It looks
Yeah,
amazing,
yeah,
and but I just love how firm the rack sits on the bike, that you don't need to. I mean, less faffing, more riding.
exactly.
You can, yeah, access your stuff easily. Everything's right in front of you, and you just, yeah, grab it
Yeah,
and go.
yeah. And I use the one with the removable bag. Obviously, it's
Mm,
not quite as light and stuff, but I always found that I wanted that option to just take
mm,
it off and ride with just a couple bags attached to the side if need
exactly.
be or whatever. It's really
Yeah,
versatile. So yeah.
it is.
What kind of gear do you? What do you? I mean, you don't carry very much by the looks of how your bag is packed. So, what have you foregone? I think I read that you don't have a pillow anymore.
No.
Not for lack of not wanting a pillow. Maybe you just lost it.
Yeah, I lost it in this year's Tour de White actually, but and I could and should have bought it, but like I just, yeah. So I learned a new pose to sleep, where I put one of my arms, under my head, and that kind of, and less things to carry is
Yeah,
less things to worry. So less is more in my philosophy,
yeah.
and when I lost the pillow, I just learned myself to live without it, and it kind of works.
On something like these three big races, the Triple Crown this year, do you use an actual bivy bag or is it just an e bivy or like what kind of
Yeah,
Because I know the e
it's
bivvies are super small, but maybe not
yeah.
very durable. So
No, they're not actually. But I have this, like, from the SOL, like
mhm.
Soul. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
like a so that one is a bit 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 better material, or bit
okay.
more durable. So even though it's emergency one, it maybe doesn't pack as small as those emergency blankets or emergency
Hmm.
bivvies. So it's kind of tiny little bit heavier, but at least you're not breaking it. I mean, it has some holes already, but
Just carry a small little tiny thing of duct tape that you can just
yeah. But I would, like, I would save time, so I'm taking off the shoes even when I'm sleeping in it,
right, right.
because the naps I take in it can be everything from 15 minutes to just an hour. So sometimes and if it's cold outside, so you don't want to take the shoes off, and you just
Hmm.
get in it with the shoes on and
Yeah,
just
fair
crash.
enough.
Yeah. So it's
And where do you store it? Because you want it obviously really easy access, right? You don't want it to be like faffing around in the bag trying to dig through
yeah,
stuff.
but that would be in my rack, a rear rack.
Hmm.
Because I would save the space. The top tube and the frame bag is like accessible spaces while you're on a bike. It's quite convenient.
Hmm.
So those places are left for the food, for the gloves, for the things that you can, like. In order to get into the bivvy, you have to stop and get off the bike, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
if you have stopped, so it doesn't matter if it's in the rack or whatever, you
Hmm.
still have to stop and get off the bike. So, and because the convenience with the tail fin, that it opens wide through the, like, and you can have the full,
Yeah.
like, you see what you have in the bag just opening it. So I would easily find it in there.
Okay.
So I would just have it in the rack, yeah, and get it out.
Yeah. And what do you carry for like you mentioned you carry food and gear on the like stuff that you want to access while riding
Mm.
in the frame bag. So it's like gloves, rain gear, that kind of stuff.
That is. Rain pants, I would have them in a rear rack, because again, to put
Not
them
as
on, you have to
yeah,
stop.
that
So,
makes
like,
sense.
my logic while I'm packing is, I put in. I put things in a rack, which in order to get them on, I would need to stop anyway.
Okay, yeah.
So, and everything else, what I wouldn't need to stop and could do on the go, I put in those reachable areas, so where you can get that while you're on a bike.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, yeah. What else I was going to ask? I don't know about gear.
No, no, but clothing is like in this year's Tour Divide, it's been like a pivotal point, because we would get snow in Montana, and then there was like, yeah, then there's the desert in New Mexico. So I think that was the widest amplitude of the temperatures I've ever had in a race. Like, where it go, I think coldest I've seen was -10 Celsius. So I don't know
Oh,
how,
wow.
like,
Okay.
it's like 15 Fahrenheit or something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a Celsius person, so
Ah,
yeah.
yeah, Celsius
I
person.
just
All right.
can't.
Yeah, you're
We're
Canada.
Canada. We're like
You're
a proper
Canada.
country, you know.
Well, man, nah. So yeah, -10. And then you get to Mexico, where it's like +44.
Right. What do you do when it's that cold? Because I mean, obviously, you're not carrying like a million layers, and like for your feet, like, do you have bags that you wear, or like Gore-Tex socks that you
Mm.
just throw on to keep the heat in, or what do you do?
Yeah, so I would do this bodge with like a grocery store
Grocery store
bag,
bags.
which I would just divide in two and just get on my feet. I would wear the shoe covers inside the shoe. I would make those shoe covers out of those plastic bags, and
Yeah, yeah.
so my yeah. So that was one thing, but the other thing. So we have like the puffy jacket is essential thing. I also it's also part of my sleeping system,
Okay.
because I would sleep in it, and I would also use it to ride in those cold temperatures. So, but from so Canada, right? You also have to do some riding in colder temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you learn to layer up, and the one core thing that I learned to love and to appreciate here is merino wool. So that's what keeps me warm, or
Okay.
is essential in keeping warm in winter riding, at least for me. So I would just change the base layer. That would be the merino wool, and then layer up with all these jackets. Like,
That makes sense. And I remember like when I, so dating back to 2020 when I did my Western Canada thing. Um, yeah, there was a lot of mornings where it was right around zero, and
mm,
I once kind of in that racing mindset, but not knowing it, I just didn't pack a lot of stuff.
mm,
I don't think I had even a long sleeve shirt. I had the short sleeve shirt. I had a down jacket that was, very small. And then I had a raincoat. And
mm,
so I'd layer those three things on, and I would ride with one hand in a pocket or switch every 40 seconds because I only had short gloves. I didn't have long gloves, and it was awful, but it worked, like it's
yeah,
like you said, it's like how much do you want to suffer?
exactly. How much discomfort can you tolerate, and for how long? This
Yeah.
is this is this is the thing about those races.
Yeah, and I was saying at the first Canadian Shield Bikepacking Summit, which I organized, I was presenting at the first one, and I said, it's a lot of my experience has been testing how much I can suffer, and then kind of balancing it to figure out what works for me.
Mm,
Um, it's not really, I wouldn't go on to a big race having never suffered, right? You'd be stupid to do that. But if you know what you can do and you can handle, then I guess you can play it from there.
that's why I'm always surprised meeting those rookies, in Tour Divide, when they jump at the deepest end of the pool, kind of straight away, like, without, like, I don't know. Like, my approach would be like, yeah, do some race, because bike packing and touring is very different from
Mm-hmm.
racing, right? So you're
Yeah.
getting this different mentality. So I don't know. Like, I would suggest people to do a race, shorter one, learn how you act and react, and because you want it or not, but there are others around you, and it took me time to learn not to race, like, or to do my own race, not looking at
Mm-hmm.
the other dots. That's why I sometimes don't need to check those, track leaders or whatever, not see the other dots. Just like I can do what I can do, and that's
Mm.
about it. Like I can't ride harder, or if I would ride harder, I would probably explode at some point and or dig a hole that I wouldn't be able to fill, and that would cost me more
Yeah, yeah.
than just listening to what I need to do at what point.
So how often do you check track leaders? Like, I mean, as long as it's not a habit where you're like, as soon as your hands are comfortable, you're like, oh, let me check where everybody else is, right? Like it's just,
No. So, but like I have, so when we race with Uber, we are so close that you sometimes don't need to check. You just look behind you and you see him. so, so then yeah, the track leaders is worthless.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, middle of the race, I remember. So this year to the White was all about the weather. I would race weather more than the others at the beginning because I just knew about the snow at the low altitude.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so after just, I think yeah, when I got through the snowstorm, I just wanted to see who else dared to do that.
Okay.
But
Who else is dumb? You're like, hey, I'm not the
yeah,
only one.
yeah, exactly. But that was it's a thing that I'm not very obsessed about now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find it's like a rabbit hole, right? Like I find like I've been on an event where I started looking at it a lot and then I couldn't stop looking at it.
Mm,
Not couldn't stop, but I'd find myself checking more often than I should
mm.
bother because it's not going to make a difference in the grand scheme of
Yeah,
things, you know?
exactly. And I also been in situation like this year's Atlas race was a really tough one, or like where I actually learned a lot, because in that race I had a really close, like for 4 days we've been separated maybe by half an hour. All
That's
those 4
nuts.
days. That's where it was actually wearing you out more physically or like mentally than physically, because you know what you can do, or at least I know what I
Mm-hmm.
can do, and I would need to stay within my limits, not push harder, and just like be efficient, like constantly be in the game. And this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
where you can't check out, where you have to constantly be at your max. That's actually that was a thing that really, I was really happy when it all finished.
I think that's probably the most difficult thing is because like I find that sometimes like I'll be riding and I'll start thinking of something and the next thing I know I'm like, oh shit, I'm way too into this thought
Hmm.
and it's affecting my cadence, it's affecting my
Hmm.
speed. Like how do you balance that? Keep your mind focused and
Hmm.
but maybe the right answer is there's a time and a place for it, right? Like you said, if you're within a half hour of
Exactly.
other people, you can't dick around.
No.
Where if it's a bigger gap, then if your mind wanders a bit and you lose a bit of time, at least
Yes.
you're
But
resting your brain, right?
yeah, because it's very important. Like, if Atlas would have lasted longer than 4 days, this wouldn't be sustainable. Like, I wouldn't have been able. Like, at some point, you would crack probably. Like, you would, you would be so tired that you would need to sleep just because of this all tension, or like all this, thinking and constantly trying to remind yourself that, yeah, be efficient. And the thing that also happened that race, that I would be irritated over myself if I would just do some stupid stuff,
Mm,
where I would lose time, where I would stop in a cafe, and instead of like trying to be efficient and order everything fast, pack and go, I would actually sit down and kind of give myself a treat for just sitting down and relaxing and just eating the food, and then kind of try to race back or do the effort. Like,
yeah,
I
trying to
would be
make up
fast.
time lost after,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Be faster on the bike, but rewarding myself with this sit down time. And then, like you start to like think back, and that is the seconds or minutes that can cost you, and you would start to go into this rabbit hole, but then I'm also learned myself, and yeah, the thoughts that you kind of you can actually control them at
Mm.
least a little bit. So I would, yeah, learn myself to concentrate on the positives, not the negatives.
Yeah, makes sense. Um, yeah, and then I guess jumping on from the Tour Divide, which you set an FKT of, we never mentioned it, but I think people know if they know, 13 days, 2 hours, 16 minutes. What made you decide you're going to do the Triple Crown this year? You know, like, was it something you had already planned, or is it like
Mm-hmm.
after you hit the FKT and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
fuck it, why not? Let's just do it.
Exactly, my friend. That's how it was. Like, I'm not gonna fucking do this again. That's what that was the main idea behind the Triple Crown, that I didn't want to do a divide again. And you know that if I would come with the idea to do the Triple Crown like next year, so that would mean the third time in a row doing Tour Divide.
Right, and that's a big. It's expensive and it's a big commitment, right?
Yeah, it's really long. I mean, I know people like there was this guy, you know, I finished Colorado, and by the time I finished Colorado, he finished through the Divide.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was out there for like 60 days.
Oh wow, yeah. And I
So
remember talking to somebody and they said, you know, like forget what I do. Like, you know, yeah, I race it in 13 days, but like, man, the people who are out there for 30 days or more, that's the real commitment. Those are the tough people, because like
I
that's a
I
lot.
I take my hat to those people, man. They push as hard as we do. I mean, they are out there for so much longer, so much more things can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The weather will definitely change in those 30 days. You're not gonna have a perfect weather window. I mean, I'm amazed, and those are the real heroes actually, who are there for so long and just do this day out and day out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to ask you, you know, I know you shared a porta potty with two other guys in 2023. Is that the same porta potty you slept in 2024, or was that just a different one?
No, no,
Because I think this year you slept in one and you woke up and it had storming or something, right?
yeah, yeah, but that was a pit toilet, you know, the
Oh, okay.
fancy one where you can lay down, like you don't have to
Okay. Okay.
sit on the bench with two other guys.
Yeah, I don't know how I still can't imagine how you guys fit in there, but whatever. Like,
It's try like next time you go to a festival and see a porta potty, you invite your other friends and try to fit in there and see how comfortable you can get.
at the start of the festival, not at the end.
Nah, yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't know, like to this day, and when I was crossing like the Great Basin this time, I was really hoping that the toilet would be still there, but it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It was towed away, because even when we found it, it wasn't a trailer. So somewhat, I don't know, maybe some cowboys, maybe some, I have no idea who could have towed it and left it there.
Oh, weird, huh? Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
maybe there was some construction somewhere off, and they just left it there for a couple weeks
But
to use when they're in town or in the area.
Great Basin is a place where there's nothing for miles. That's the biggest nothingness area that I've ever seen.
Is it like what is there? Like, are there is it where the wild horses are? It's not even
There
there,
are wild horses,
huh?
there
Okay.
are antelopes, there's some cattle, but that's about it. There's no trees. There's only like little small bushes that grow there. There's little grass. I mean that area is
It's
nothingness.
like
Like
the moon.
it's it's crazy. Like, and it lasts, you know, it's like 300 square kilometers. I don't know how much that is in miles, but that's a huge
I don't
area.
either.
That's the size of Lithuania, where there's nothing.
It can't be 300 square kilometers. Maybe 3,000 square kilometers.
No, not thousand. Thousand would be like we
Because
ride like from Banff to Mexico border is like three, you know, four
well, no,
thousand.
square though would be like
So
X
what?
times Y.
300 that way and 300 that way. So
Okay, so 3 times 3 is 9 and 4 zeros. 90,000 square kilometers.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking like the big forest outside my house is 300 square kilometers. I'm like, that wouldn't take that long to cross. Like,
No, sorry. Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like 300 and 300 and probably more because, oh no, I don't know. Like if you're lucky and the wind is good, so I know that guys like I think Josh Ibbett has crossed it in like 17 hours or something, but he would have tailwind all the way.
Tailwind and hitting the perfect weather, not too
Yeah.
hot, right?
Yeah, but we were not that lucky.
Mm-hmm. How about the Colorado Trail Race? When did that one take place? That was about a month after the tour, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it's about. So I finished touring at late like June, and Colorado started I think 10th of August. Or
Okay.
no, yeah, something middle of August.
Okay. And
So
then,
in between, I did that, or not did, but like organized my own race here in Tolga, and then went to Colorado.
okay, what was your event in Trondheim? Was that just
No, it's in
more of a local
Tolga.
thing?
No. It's in Tolga, and it's called the Bright Midnight.
Okay.
It's there's like a ultra yeah, gravel. It's a gravel race.
Oh, cool.
Mm.
How long is
And
it?
it's 1,000 kilometers, so it's like 600 miles.
Keep telling me miles like I know miles.
You don't know, so you don't know them, right?
No, I'm from Canada.
No,
We're metric, man.
yeah, I'm confused. Like I've been talking to.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
No.
Yeah, it's everybody assumes that Canada uses imperial
Yeah.
just like America, but no, we firmly like to mix the two in ways that don't make sense to anybody.
Okay.
For example, when I say everybody, like somebody asks me, how tall are you? I'm like, oh, 5'10.5", but I weigh 200 pounds. And
Man.
my, I don't know. And then we use kilometers for cars and we use meters for bedrooms or something, or whatever we use meters for. I don't know. It's just really mixed up, man. We're so,
No. But
yeah.
like my relationship with Canada is like I have flown into Calgary twice, but I always leave Canada on my bike. So
Yeah.
it's basically what I've done there.
That's awesome.
I should come and do more there, but the time will come.
Yeah. So yeah, Colorado Trail Race. I mean, unfortunately, you didn't get the FKT. Kind of shitty. I mean,
No,
you
I
know?
was first over the line, but I'm not the winner.
Yeah.
But I don't
And
I couldn't care less.
yeah, I mean, it's still an amazing accomplishment. 4 days, 7 hours, 17 minutes. I wrote it down here.
Nice.
How was that? How's a Colorado Trail Race compared to Tour Divide?
It's different. Like, yeah, to begin with, it's single trail for most of those miles. I mean, you have very, very little on gravel roads, and pavement is just the rare thing to find there. So, and altitude, another thing.
Oh,
Altitude, the whole race is like the average is 3,000 meters above sea level.
holy God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
You are up in a thin air all the time. So I think that is the biggest challenge, and the remoteness of everything is the second biggest challenge.
And was it hard to get used to the air quality, or did you like the air
I
density, or did you go there early to spend a few
no,
days, or?
I went 4 days ahead
Okay.
of the race. Luckily, I stayed with amazing, like I would call him a trail angel. The guy Jason, he would take me. The this year the race went from Denver to Durango.
Okay.
So he lived in Boulder, and he used to live in Leadville. So that's where we went, and I got to both ride a bit of a trail and also see how I kind of reacted to the altitude. And
Mm.
actually, I felt fine, but maybe I've used all the kind of buffer that I had in my fitness, because we rode and we stayed in Leadville. So instead of sleeping in the altitude and training low, so I both trained in the altitude and then slept
Ah.
in the altitude, and just then we would come back to Denver, which is way lower,
Mm-hmm.
or Boulder, and then the race started. So So I kind of the first day I would really suffer. Like that was a bit of a shock to the system. I couldn't eat. I couldn't
You
drink
just couldn't keep
properly.
stuff down, or
No, I could I wouldn't be. I just the appetite wasn't there, and
okay.
that's very strange because I usually the guy who can eat anything anytime. So I would like to blame it on the altitude, but I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know.
Mm.
Could be other things. So the first day I was really struggling, even though I was far like keeping up with at the pointy end, but I needed to stop for a long break or like to sleep a couple of hours the first night, just just to get back to normal. Like I would lose and we had quite a hot day, you know, like it the race started and it was hot, so probably I've lost some fluids. I couldn't get enough nutrition, so yeah,
Yeah,
things
yeah,
just got bad.
and I think when you're at high elevation, if it's hot, you don't realize how much the sun is impacting you too, right? So
Mm,
like you're
yeah.
dehydrating quicker. It's probably
Mm,
drier. So
yeah.
mm,
But then I would need my body would need way longer sleep. What usually I could do the first night with just a couple of power naps, but
yeah.
that night I needed I stopped I think first time for like 2 hours. Then I was pushing my bike, walking up the hill, and would feel sleepy again, so I stopped again for half an hour. Then I did a descent to the Copper Mountain, to the Copper, and there again I needed to stop. No, there was like ski heises, you know, like, and they use these yellow crash pads in winter time.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Like there was a ski station with the lifts, and there was some of those crash pads laying, and man,
Oh, how can you
you
not
won't
sleep on that?
you won't say no to this, right? I mean, this is
Yeah.
a mattress to sleep on. It couldn't be better. So I slept another half an hour on that one, and then I made it to the top. Started the descent. It was early morning. The sun was coming up. I was starting to feel myself again,
Hmm.
and that's where I broke the wheels.
Okay. Oh, it was just like only a couple days in, or 2 days. Yeah, not
Yeah,
even.
yeah.
Yeah.
The,
Um,
the the
do
first
you
day.
use do you use caffeine at all when you're racing?
I tend not to. I only get what I get from all these drinks, you know, coffees and cokes
Hmm.
and stuff. Um, I much rather take a power nap than take a caffeine because
Okay.
I believe that with caffeine you just borrow the energy from the future.
Oh, okay.
You
Yeah, yeah.
you'll still have to pay it back. The energy doesn't come from
There's no
anywhere.
free energy, right?
No, no, no. You're just borrowing it. You're digging yourself a hole, which you might not be able to fill later.
Oh, it's a good. It's a good theory. So yeah. Anyways, you broke. Sorry, that was a little bit of a
No, no.
sideline there. But you broke your wheel, and I
Yeah.
mean, at that point, you have no choice. Either it's scratch or go off trail and get to a town
I
to.
mean, if I would have only known the rule,
Hmm.
which I don't think it is a rule, it's a frequently asked question. But anyway, so
Oh, it's actually not like it's not in their rules of
no, it's
the.
not in the rules. It's
That's
in the
insane. Okay.
frequently asked questions. Anyway,
All
but
right. Whatever.
if I would have known that or would have read that part, because I only read rules, and so I could have I could have walked to the Leadville. Like it
Okay.
wasn't that far off. But because I've done a few of those races, and last year in Tour de I also hitchhiked, you know, and I I couldn't imagine that this can be different here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just walked back the trail up to the trailhead, then got the car, then got to Leadville, got to the shop, got the new wheel. Then had to walk all the way back to intersection, catch a car, get back to the trailhead, walk down because I've hidden my bike in bushes. I only
Mm,
took out the rear wheel, the one that
right.
was broken. So I
Where
had
if you
to.
had have known, you would have just pushed the bike to town
I
and
would, and I
change the
probably
wheel and then ride back to the trailhead, right?
no, I wouldn't need. I could have followed the trail. The trail went through Leadville.
Oh, did it? Okay. So,
Yeah, yeah. So
that sucks.
I could have. Yeah, but by that time, you know, after I've lost so many hours,
Hmm.
I was like, this race is done, basically. I mean, I mean, there was nothing else. I only like the only reason I wanted to continue is just like that I flew halfway through the world to be there,
Yeah, yeah.
and to give up there it would have been silly. So I started riding, and because I felt way better on the day too, so I was just enjoying myself on the bike. So suddenly I was in Buena Vista. I felt great there. Got the free supplies for the next like 48 hours, pretty much,
Yeah.
all the way
Is
to
that
the
where you were
city.
drinking beer or?
Nah, in Colorado, I didn't have beer.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Colorado Trail Race where
No,
you're
that was
having a pint somewhere.
Arizona.
No. No.
No, that was in Arizona. In Colorado, I was still kind of, yeah. So I wanted to finish, but there is so little play. Like in the whole Colorado Trail, if you are racing or riding fast pace, so it's basically 2 points where you can resupply.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's Leadville and Buena Vista is so close to each other that you kind of choosing one or the other one,
Hmm.
and then you have Silverton, and then you have finish. So it's just like, but between Buena Vista and Silverton is like 2 days of riding. So you have
Okay.
like
So you got to
water.
carry enough stuff.
Yeah, water is easy to find in the mountains. Like there's plenty of creeks and streams, but food you have to carry that.
Mm. So
So
on the Colorado, you would have carried more food at a time than you would have, for example, on the Tour Divide, where you could
oh, for
resupply
sure.
more easily, right?
For sure, man. In Tour Divide, actually, when you see, so you are basically in like every 60 miles you are in a town.
Okay.
So, or like, yeah, there are sections like, yeah, crossing the Great
The
Basin
basin, yeah.
is way longer. And when you come down to Mexico, that's also way way less people living there, and the distances in between cities are bigger.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. And yeah, so in the end, when did you find out that, did you find out before the end of the race that because you took a car, you wouldn't be
Mm,
eligible for the FKT? No, huh?
mm. I finished the race.
You just fucking given her and you're like, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, no, but like I was as happy, like, but I didn't feel as a criminal. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like a. And there was some trail angels, like two women waiting at the end of the race. They were welcoming all the riders, and they had some foods. They had the finisher beer.
Okay.
So yeah, the Krista is one of them, and she was amazing. So I got to stay at her place later on. So I got to spend some nights there. But I was just happy that I did it. Like it's so as I said, like in Leadville, I thought that the race is gone and I'm just gonna finish it. But when I caught the guys, and I think the guy who was in third or fourth position, he scratched. So I kind of, yeah, jumped. And then when I got like the phone signal, so I looked at the map and I saw that I'm second now, and there's just one guy ahead, and he wasn't that far ahead.
Mm.
So, and the next morning I caught up with him, and there I was crossing the line first, but not being the winner. So, and but that I found out later. But it didn't bother me much.
Yeah. I know there was some talk for a while, like I forget who it was, um who beat Mike Hall's record, like was it Lachlan Morton that had a film,
Mm,
he had a crew, right? And then they said it's not an unofficial
mm,
FKT.
mm,
And then there was a lot of talk after that where they're saying, well, there should be, maybe race directors should standardize their rules and this and that. But then the counter to that is that it would take away from the spirit of bikepacking, that it's, it is not meant to be governed, right?
no, exactly. We are so proud, right, that there is no jurisdiction telling what
Yet.
are the rules. Yeah,
UCI hasn't decided to just start owning every race.
there might be. Yeah, mark my words, right? Nah, but I'm very happy that there isn't, and in a way, I see this as a very unique, and that's why this sport is growing and it's so beautiful, right? That
Hmm.
everybody's welcome there. Look at the people who participate in those races. There's no one type. Like there's such a beautiful mix of people. Like, oh, this is what I love the most about this. That
Hmm.
our community is so welcoming and involving, and so yeah, definitely. And I would don't want it to change, and I don't want the prize. Like I really hope that the race is gonna stay as they are. That there's gonna be no money on the line. You know, there's
Yeah.
gonna be just like you're gonna finish and you maybe gonna get the beer. Maybe someone's gonna be at the finish line. Maybe not. Maybe you're just gonna finish and you just broke some records, but nobody's there. Nobody
Yeah.
cares,
Yeah.
and you just did it and enjoy it.
Yeah. What? And there's some, there's some. I have seen a little bit. There's been I think there's a couple events out there where, I mean, other than like Atlas Mountain Race and stuff, where you pay an entry fee, but for the most part, it's free, right? Like most events out there, you just sign up, you show
It,
up.
it's in US, I would say. Most of them are free because you have so much privately owned land. Uh, oh, not you, sorry. Americans have so much privately owned land, right?
Yeah.
And that would make impossible to for someone who's organizing the race to get all the permits from all the landowners
Hmm.
if they would decide to make money on that race, right? So, because why would someone crossing someone's land and that landowner wouldn't get a dime, and then the race organizer would profit from it? Or,
Yeah. Yeah.
but as a race organizer myself, I can tell you that there's not much profit in those races. Like you, but that's another topic. But anyway, the thing is, like here in Europe, or at least in Norway, that the land is not owned by the
Alleman's right.
people.
And how do
Yeah,
you say
so
it?
yeah, Almans Rettighet. So it's like you have this right to roam freely on the
Mm-hmm.
land, and that's why there are sponsors for the races. They are way more commercialized. There's like in my own race, there's media crew.
Yeah.
I don't allow private media teams to follow the riders, but that's why I try to make sure that
You
there's
have a
gonna be
good crew, right? Yeah.
enough coverage. Like there's a videographer,
Mm-hmm.
photographers, and stuff. So those races, they are completely different. Like, or like the approach, there are very, like, I know at least two races I think in Europe here, which are called the grassroots races, where the only, like, you need to sign up. You either have your own tracker, and
Okay.
sometimes they ask also for donation to this or that
Mm.
charity, and then you're kind of good to go.
Yeah, and I know some races too make. I was supposed to do North Cape 4000 that same year,
Yeah.
and then I postponed it because of COVID, and then we had a daughter, and then that was it. Um, but now they have like a mandatory sleep time per day. Like, what do you think of that? Like, you know, is it
I
just
don't
kind of
know.
mental?
I don't know. Like, definitely sleep is like, sleeping makes you faster. So I'm happy that they kind of help the riders to understand that.
Mm,
But I think they kind of take away the beauty of this when the tactical games of how much you're gonna sleep, where you're gonna sleep,
hmm.
is taken away. Like,
Yeah, and I look at it like somebody like I don't know, somebody who might average just a few hours or 2 or 3 hours of sleep. Like I don't know, how much do you average? I
like
forget.
Tour Divide was about three, two and a half,
Three.
three.
Okay. Well, versus somebody like Lachlan Morton who sleeps long, but he's
Mm.
a
Crazy
pro
fast.
racer who's very
Mm.
very fast. now you're tipping this balances the scales the other way, right? Like,
Exactly. So yeah, I would like, I would trust that people will not do stupid shit, right? I mean,
mm-hmm,
this is what I like. Yeah, in Bright Midnight, I also don't control how long and for how much they're gonna sleep, but I always tell them that by like sleeping makes them faster. So it's just like finding the balance with how much sleep you can, how
mm-hmm,
fast can you be. So it's if you're gonna sleep 8 hours, you're probably not gonna be as fast. Like you're gonna be very fast, but you're gonna lose more than you're gonna gain
yeah,
from that sleep. So you need to find the balance. Like maybe try with 4 hours, like 5 hours,
mm-hmm,
but sleep. Like don't try to play a hero and push through the night without sleeping and fucking up all the experience that you're gonna feel miserable and unhappy.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I've done it. I mean, I've done the overnighters to see how bad you can feel, right? Like you want to kind of figure out
Yeah.
where's your point where you're so low that there's no coming back, or your recovery is just too messed up, right?
Exactly. So then you need to find a bakery and a good cake. That's the only thing that can get me out of this.
Yeah, maybe that's right. Or a good beer.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so then we got to the Arizona Trail Race. You came back. That was recent, right? That was
That was here
just finished. Yeah, October.
in October, right?
October. So third time to the U.S. in 1 year.
Yeah. It's
Man,
been
it
like
must be nice to be rich.
I couldn't have made this. So I mentioned like, so in Calgary, yeah, I didn't stay in Banff because Banff is like crazy expensive.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I stayed in Calgary, and again there I had a good friend hosting me. So I only went to Banff a day ahead of the race. Then when I finished the Tour Divide, I stayed there in Hachita in the bike ranch with Jeff.
Yeah.
And then I went to, yeah, because Lel Welcox is a friend of mine, so she offered her place. She lives in Tucson, so that's where I flew from back to Europe. So again, lucky the having friends, and with the Colorado, I had a Trail Angel Jason hosting me in Boulder. Didn't need to pay for their accommodation, and then after the race, stayed with Krista again. She was amazing and didn't ask me to pay. So if not the people, I wouldn't have been able to pull this off. I mean,
Yeah.
because this was so spontaneous, right? So I didn't got the sponsors or anything to cover those costs. So, and my budget that I had for this year was already wasted on the other races I've done. So, because this year, like Arizona Trail was my 10th race this year, like in 10
But you do
months.
10 races in 10
Yeah.
months? Wow. Okay.
So it's a bit
Because I knew you did the
crazy.
Badlands as well. I didn't realize that was only 5 that I count. Oh, 6 with your race. And then there's a few, there must be a
No, so
few
I
more.
didn't count my race.
Oh,
If
there
I
you
would
go.
count
11.
my races, it would be 11. Like, but
11 in 10 months. You're doing all right.
yeah. So no, man, it's been my first race was Fat Bike race in January here in Norway. So that's when I started my season, and I finished now in October. So it's been a
How,
long year.
yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I did. There's a nice fat bike race here in Ontario, just on the Ontario side of the border where I live, and it's about 200K. So
Wow, nice one.
it's like
Because those
50, 100, or 200. So
yeah,
first year I did 50. Last year I did 200.
nice.
This year I'm between idea of doing the 100 or 200 again. So we'll see how I
Because
feel
what do you
health
race
wise.
on? Is that the cross country skiing tracks or dog
Yeah,
sledding?
it's actually on a rail trail. So it's
Nice.
almost all exclusively on a rail trail, which is it's tough, man, because in the start of the day it's really crisp,
Mm-hmm.
but after some snowmobiles run over it for a few hours, it becomes like
Yeah,
it's,
powder.
it's like it's so soft. And
Yeah.
last year for the 200 though, we had very little snow. It was all like obviously global warming is a lie. It's not real, but all the snow was gone mysteriously, and so it was mostly on rail. Like a lot of it was 50% of it was gravel, and it was fast route, but it was still a lot of work. Yeah.
No, don't listen to this crap. It's That's why I do all these races now, because I'm afraid that they're gonna fucking disappear.
Well, that's it, right? Summer's going to get so damn hot you won't be able to do any events, and then winters you'll be racing. You'll be
Yeah,
racing a fucking Colorado race in January to try to
yeah,
have it so it's not too hot.
exactly. And oh my god, no, anyway, but yeah, and in Arizona again. So I stayed in Tucson and with Lel and Rue, and
Mhm.
wouldn't be amazing. So yeah, the total count of racing days in Triple Crown is like 25, right? So it's like 25 days just of racing. And if you take some days before and after the race, I think I've spent like easily 2 months in US this year. So it's a
Yeah,
lot. It's a lot.
yeah. And the so let's talk briefly or in depth, whatever, about the Arizona Trail Race. You also came first this year, 7 days, 19 hours, 48 minutes. Another one that's no FKT because of a reroute, right?
Yeah, but you know that the race organizer there, actually John, he made an announcement. Or I think he did what probably should be done everywhere, I think. So the guy has amazing, like he has a database of
Oh.
everything. So he actually announced, like, or he put everything he knew. So there's even like all the route changes from year to year are noted. Like how
Mm.
much longer, how much more trail that it has been added. Because you before, like when J Peterbury did the Triple Crown, so when he did Arizona Trail, it was 750-mile race. So
Right.
now
Yep.
it's 800. So he has the full control over all these changes that has been done to the trail,
Okay.
and also he has listed all the times. Like he has the grand departs for all the years, and he has the individual time trials for all the years, so everybody can go in, log in, and see who's the
Mm.
fastest. And he has also noted what the route was for which year, so what were the changes, and he has also sectioned it so you can see what was the time that next person used when they stayed on the original course on this year's course and whatever. And you can clearly see, and everybody now are free to
Okay.
choose who they want to name as the fastest known time. And he just tries to kind of, yeah, not because there's too much drama happening sometimes. I like it feels that people just love drama and they just
Yeah,
try
yeah.
to make these things. I don't know.
But let's not get away from it. 7 days, 19 hours,
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah.
Fast. how how long is the race? Oh, it's 800 miles, right? And how did it go? Like, what's? I mean, it's a tough one, right?
Yeah, that is the absolutely slowest one of all these three. Like if you think, like, I thought that Colorado was slow, like I never had the miles tick so slowly there. But Arizona is the next level.
How long is Colorado's?
So 500 miles.
500 miles. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but you do that in 4 days. So
Yeah.
here I'm the first person to come like sub 8.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. It's quite fast, but I still think that that's the slowest race of all them.
It's just so if I remember, it's really hilly and it's really rugged terrain, right?
Mm.
Like,
It's a very young trail, There's not so many hikers walking there and carrying their heavy backpacks and walking in small steps and just like shining the trail. So
okay.
yeah, so it's way more different, and it's so diverse. Like you start in the south where it's deserty, like cactuses and things that want to kill you, snakes and stuff. And then suddenly you kind of halfway, I think, you climb up the rim that I can't pronounce the name correctly, Mongolian rim.
I don't know.
Yeah, and suddenly things change. Like you're in a pine forest, you're in a forest, and the trail becomes a bit smoother. There's some rocks in between, just to make things a bit a bit Arizonish, and then you come to the Grand Canyon, which you have to walk through with the bike on the back, and that's 34 kilometers and 2,000 meters of elevation gain.
How did you carry your bike?
So that race allows you to send a backpack ahead, and so I send it to the to Cyan. That's like the last town before entering the Grand Canyon of
Okay.
the southern rim. So you're allowed to send yourself a backpack, and that's what I use. Like you strap your bike, and you have to dismount the bike, so you at least take off the wheel, the
Mm-hmm.
front and stuff. And yeah, strap it to the bike, to the frame, and then strap then the bike to the backpack and get the backpack on your back.
And you stuff your bags if you can, like or your tail fin bag or whatever, into the bag, or
I
you just
left
left it
it.
up?
I left it on, but just yeah. So to prevent it tipping over or like swinging, so I took everything from the rear rack and put that in the backpack. So that
Mm-hmm.
it also prevent, like it makes a bit of a cushion so the frame doesn't rub
Yeah.
on your back. So that was actually the way I did it. And I know some people take off the pedals, so that they wouldn't rub anywhere, but my pedal was sitting just like right above my head, so it wasn't a
Okay.
problem.
And do you carry a separate pair of footwear for this, or you
I
just
I should have cared,
Okay.
because I walked it in cycling shoes with the cleats on, and my feet were not happy.
Okay. Do
And
most people bring separate shoes, or?
I know that some people choose to ride flat pedals, and they do
Oh,
the
right.
like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
do ride in like cycling shoes from the beginning, and they are happy. But I chose this more racy approach
Mm-hmm.
where I had cycling shoes, and I also walked everything in a skin suit actually.
Okay. So, in hindsight, like a t-shirt and shorts would have been a nice, like a pair of running shorts or
But
something to stuff in
but
the bag.
but my feet were completely fucked, and I didn't had a single chafing problem on my
Okay.
body.
Nice.
So the skin suit from Albion was mint, but the shoes were not that good
Okay.
idea.
Gotcha. um, how tough is that hike a bike though? Like I mean, cause you said 35 kilometers, right?
Hmm.
So you're climbing for,
It's a
that's massive.
huge ditch, man. It's the biggest ditch I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like when I first saw it, I couldn't believe. I was just laughing. I mean, you see that northern rim on the other side, somewhere far, and you think that okay, like even riding
Like
34
whose
kilometers.
fucking idea is this?
Exactly. So that's why that race, it's so stupid. Like they are just putting stupid shit on top of everything. And you can't get it more stupid, like when you have to walk through Grand Canyon. So they basically can do whatever the fuck they want, and it's not gonna beat walking the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just getting ridiculous. Like the amount of time spending walking in that race is huge.
Yeah.
You like in Tucson, you have to. There's this Mount Lemon, and there's a perfect road going up. And in many years they would use the road, but now they changed it, and you have to hike it up
And I
on
know
the
a lot of
trail.
people that enjoy cycling Mount Lemmon. I've heard it's great.
It's very beautiful, and going downhill on the trail that we walked up, I bet it's fun. But when you're walking up, it's not that fun.
So you walk up the trail,
Yeah.
go down the actual road.
No, do you
Oh,
also
you keep
go down the
going.
trail? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, the guys who do the 300, they use the road. They're allowed to take the road, but
Hmm.
the guys who do 800, they have to push up.
How do you keep going on, a route like this when it's so hard and so challenging? Like, how do you what do you say to yourself to just keep pushing? Just keeps why?
No, it's there is. So my brother-in-law, my sister has a cat, and the cat's name is Shoreditch, and my brother-in-law would say that Shoreditch, don't be a pussy. So that's what I say to myself,
Okay.
that I don't I should.
Just suck it up and keep going.
Nah, but that's, a pussycat, and a pussycat can't be a pussy. So he's just a. I love this stupid shit. Like I love the dad jokes. The dad
Hmm.
jokes always gets like. You know why the chicken are so funny?
I don't know why.
Because.
I have heard that shit. I should have known.
So this is exactly the shit that keeps me going. This
Okay,
is
so
this is what I laugh at. I tell stupid jokes to myself. I just have fun.
when nothing else, you rack your brain trying to think of more dumb dad jokes that you've heard that you're like,
Exactly.
what was that other one? There's another good one.
Yeah, or I would see a sign, with a name that would resemble to something, and that would be my best. That would make my day.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, where was I? I'm just scrolling through my questions.
Yeah, you have plenty, man. That's good.
How far is the Grand Canyon? Like, is the Grand Canyon near to the end of the race, or is it kind of
Mhm.
centralized? Or
It's very like the town where I've sent everything, so it's to Cyan, and that's like 800. No, that's 700 mile. So after you cross the Grand Canyon, because it's like 21 miles,
yeah.
so you have like 80 miles left, like 79 something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
it's
nearly.
yeah. They can't do it the other way, because that would mean too many bikers coming at the same time. Because
All right, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, it's a wilderness area, and usually in none of other wilderness areas in USA you're allowed to bring, no, like they don't care that you are carrying it, but you're not allowed to bring a bike. So they make
Oh,
they make this exception for Arizona Trail, and especially for the through hikers,
nice.
because we're hiking through the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Um, what would you say is I guess the most challenging of the three races?
Is Arizona.
Arizona,
Yeah, man.
just because technical and
Technical, slow, hot at the beginning, cold at the end. The variety of everything, the things that want to kill you there. It's like crazy. You can even get bears, like if you climb high enough, there are bears. There are,
oh, okay.
yeah.
I'm from Canada. There's bears everywhere.
No, yeah. I mean, I have seen those bears, the grizzlies and the black
Oh
bears.
yeah.
But there, so you have the rattlesnakes, you have the scorpions, tarantulas. There's the Gila monster. I mean, yeah, I would love, like, I would have loved to see a snake, a proper snake. I saw only just like a tiny little one, but I wanted to see a nice rattlesnake, a
Mm,
fat one, but I didn't got to do that. So, I mean, the just the cactuses, like that brushing you all the time. Like I was bleeding from hands, legs,
oh
everywhere.
yeah.
Like it's a blood, sweat, and tears is a really good three words that describe
Did
Arizona Trail.
Did you have any mechanicals on this one?
Mm-mm. Like I had to plug my rear tire once, and then the sealant, the Silka, the sealant did the rest, and
I did
it's
the
good.
rest. Huh?
Mm.
Nice.
I mean, you're riding all over these cactuses, so I'm surprised. Probably there's been many punctures that I haven't known about.
Okay. Of the three races, which one would you like to most come back and do again? If your PTSD from the Arizona Trail race is gone by now.
But it would be Colorado, because
Colorado.
of the reasons. I would love to have a clean run there.
Yeah. Do you think how much faster do you think you could do Colorado? You think it'd break 4 days?
I think I could, but it's like easy to say I could,
It's easy on
yeah.
paper, huh?
Yeah, it's easy on paper. It's way more difficult, because I was actually, like, I've talked to someone, and they said that they have been, yeah, someone did the Colorado, and they had rain all days,
Mm,
and I only got hail once. Like, the hail was
right.
pretty scary, but other than that, I was on a dry trail, so that kind of makes it fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but from what I've learned in Tour Divide, that the second attempt is way faster because you learn a lot from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So even though there's a lot of information out there, but it's not enough so that you could be like, it's still a lot of unknown, right? And I love this, the adventure side of these races when you don't know actually what's gonna
Mm-hmm.
what's gonna get you there. So but I know for sure, and my first Tour Divide was 14 days, and I think, yeah, 14 days and like 20 hours or some. Yeah, I beat, like, I cut off like almost 2 days of my previous time, so
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, the second run can always be, it should be faster, right?
Mm.
But I think also there's a downside too, is that like, when the really shitty parts are coming up and like mentally you're like, oh God, I'm getting up to this part. This is going to suck. Like,
Oh
you know,
man, this is so true. And yeah, that was probably the hardest in this year's Divide as well, knowing what's coming,
mm-hmm.
and knowing how bad this and that can go. Like, yeah, you constantly, yeah, you are so aware of everything, and there are, like, in last year's Tour Divide in New Mexico, when I entered New Mexico, all my problems came. Like, I broke the pedal, my gear stopped working, I broke a spoke, like everything what kind of could go wrong started to go wrong,
All in the
and
last state.
all in the last state. So it just proves how much wear and tear the bike, or like how much beating the bike takes during that
Mm-hmm.
race. But so this year when I was approaching New Mexico, so I was clearly thinking, what's gonna go wrong now? Like, how bad this can get. But everything went fine, luckily. I mean, there were some storms and I managed to escape. Yeah, I had to ride some peanut butter mud, or death mud as some call it.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything went quite smooth.
Yeah. When you hit the peanut butter mud, what do you do? Just stop, pick up the bike, walk around it, like, or
you
start
I
hack a bike?
try I try to keep smashing as far as I go, like as fast as I can, just keep pedaling and letting that mud fly all around me. But then you come to a certain point where it just clogs the tires and
Mm.
everything, and you just stop, and then you're in trouble. I mean, then you need to get out. I would use tire lever to scrape it off,
Okay.
and then you kind of push your bike along, like next to the road on some grass preferably, or something that would prevent it from, yeah, because it's like,
Building up more. Yeah. You just want to
yeah,
avoid it catching more mud, right?
exactly. And but the thing is that thing is so sticky, it just like attracts everything, so it's everything sticks to it, and you can't get it off. Like, even if you find a stream, I was washing my bike for I don't know how long, just trying to get it running again. Like, oh, that is a death mud.
That's brutal.
That's a good name for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what's next for you? Like, what is your plan going into 2025?
Oh man, this is the quite commonly, often, that's a question that I'm like, everybody's like, the fuck are you gonna do now? Like,
I'm
you've
feeling like
done.
Silk Road Mountain Race, Hellenic Mountain Race.
Yeah, there are plenty. Like, there are challenges for me left
Yeah.
out there. I mean,
Iditarod Trail.
that's what I want to. I'm trying.
Oh yeah.
I've sent couple of emails to the race organizers, but I know that they sometimes don't care who. Like, I can't. Like, I missed the window, the registration window,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, because again, I didn't know how this year gonna work out, and
Mm-hmm.
because of the late decision to do the Triple Crown. Yeah, but I really would love to get to Iditarod to do it on a fat bike. That's a different dimension for the adventure.
Yeah. Take everything and make it 10 times more difficult, and you have a fat bike race.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, just.
And then, yeah, there are places that I want to experience. Like, I haven't been to much to Asia, like the Kyrgyzstan. So I did Kyrgyzstan in 2023, when I finished third. So yeah, probably need to
Like
go back.
Kyrgyzstan, like Silk Road, or
Silk Road, yeah, sorry, Silk
okay?
Road. Mm.
Oh, I didn't know you did it in 2023. Okay.
Yeah, and so that was, yeah. So in 2023, I was second in Atlas, second in Tour Divide, and third in Silk Road. So it was
Okay.
kind of, so this year was about fixing those mistakes. So that's why I
Mm-hmm.
went back to Atlas and gladly
Oh,
won
okay.
it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I went back to Tour Divide and won it. And actually, the original plan was to go back to Silk Road and try to win it too. But then the Triple Crown
Then you
happened,
decided to do
and
triple.
yeah.
Do you feel like there's an increased amount of pressure on yourself, like mentally, just expectation wise, now that you've done like, you've kind of rocked these big races and
I don't know, man. Like,
just keep riding?
exactly. Like, I'm still gonna enjoy myself riding, and I like all this fame and stuff. Like this is bullshit. Like, we live in this in this bubble, like
Yeah,
which is growing, which is amazing to see, but still, it's a tiny little bubble. So I'm happy that I have my work, like as a nurse, that brings me down to earth. Like, I mean,
yeah.
you understand that all this is just like a fun hobby.
It's a really fun hobby. That's really
Yeah,
expensive. A really expensive fun
yeah,
hobby. Yeah,
yeah. Sadly, that's, but you get to see the life. Like, you get to see world. You get to meet people. I mean, those experiences, they're priceless. I mean, those memories that I just hope that in my old days, I'm not gonna get dementia and not gonna forget everything. So
yeah. That would be.
maybe I'll need to write everything down before I get to that point, so that someone would remember it.
Well, that's the other thing everybody's doing is writing books. So you could.
Yeah, making movies, writing books. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Awesome, man. Anything I missed that you wanted to touch on?
I was just happy talking to you, man.
Yeah,
It
it was a
was
good
really,
conversation.
really good fun.
Yeah, I've been doing this 6 years now, so it's always kind of fun to like mix it up. Sometimes it's racers, sometimes just normal bike packers, sometimes it's tours, and it's
Yeah,
just super fun.
exactly. Because as I told you, the group of people that do those races, challenges, bikepacking, they're all amazing. They all have a story to tell.
Hmm.
This is so good. This is brilliant. I love this.
Yeah. And I appreciate your time. Thank you. Thanks for
Yeah,
taking the time to be here. I
my,
know it's your Sunday evening and probably
yeah,
back to work tomorrow, or
yeah,
do you
I'll
work?
try to do this. Yeah. Thank you for your time too, man. Thank you
No
for
problem.
getting in touch.
Yeah. All right. You don't have to hang up, but I will end the recording and we'll chat a little bit more. So I'll just stop it. So thanks and keep on pedaling. Bye bye.
Thank you.